Hey everyone, and welcome to Chamber Insights. I am Philip O'Rourke, the Executive Director, and I'm excited that you are here with us. Now, the Chamber's role is to advocate on behalf of our members and small businesses, and often that means shining a light directly on what's impacting their success. One topic is Bill 56, which significantly shifts Ohio's cannabis hemp landscape from relatively open markets to a tightly regulated dispensary-centric system. Now, companies outside traditional dispensary channels face lost product categories and new compliance burdens. And some of you where you are may be thinking, what does this have to do with our community? However, in communities not just like Yellow Springs, but across the nation, there are direct impacts and implications on how that is going to impact the economy overall. And some licensed operators navigate caps, location limits, and all of these things. But what does this mean? So today I have Ayrsman of Tweedle D here to talk to us about how this is impacting us directly where we live and how he's navigating that and trying to highlight how his business is set aside. So joining me now, Shane.
Hey, thanks, Philip. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing today?
Great. Excellent. Aside of some regulations coming down the pike,
Right, there's some regulations coming down the pike, and as I was telling everybody, there's so many things that we're all impacted by, whether it is things in the national conversation and all of that. But right here at home, tell me a little, unpack this for us, because I think there's some ambiguity when it comes to how this directly impacts businesses in our local communities.
Yeah, it's definitely going to take a toll. For instance, I'll just speak for our business. In all told, it would reduce about 2/3 of the gross total of revenue derived from THC products. These are things that have been around since 2018 Farm Bill. Consumers have gotten used to an environment. Companies have built major investment has happened. About 6,000 individual companies will take a loss and or fail completely if Senate Bill 56 passes. That's just speaking in Ohio. This is something that is put in front of the House and the Senate in every state, it seems. How this question is answered and in terms of the regulatory framework per state obviously varies quite a bit. Ohio being one that just recently recognized recreational cannabis and is embracing that. However, this bill touches on the base of any cannabis consumer, from the home, from recreational to hemp and beyond.
And that's good to know. And one of the things I like to do, let's back up. And sure. You are the COO of Tweedle D's. Give us an overview of what Tweedle D's is. What is your product line and how is it, who are you?
Sure. Tweedle D's, excuse me, I have a little cold. Is a multi-state operator. We're in Oregon, Florida, and Ohio trifecta currently, with a couple of stores in Florida, one in Ohio, and a farm in Southern Oregon. But really, the origin of our company started on the farm, and by that, we like to say that it differentiates us from a lot of resellers. We are a farm. We produce the products in the raw form, so that other companies may buy said products and then make whatever it is, an edible, an inhalable, or what have you after that fact. So we have firsthand knowledge in everything from the origin of the fertilizers used, the genetics of the plant being planted, how the plant husbandry goes, so the quality of care all the way through the finished products. So very different than a standard CBD or hemp shop, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of conversation and concerns, I would say, that I hear. You got me clearing my voice too.
Yes, good.
I would hear, and I do hear about safety, legalities when it comes to minors, how people can access this. From your business, what is the opportunity for those kinds of interactions? Yeah.
Well, so we're right in the middle of that. We sit on several boards like the National Hemp Association and offer our feedback there. but we follow the regulatory guidelines just like any other regular quote unquote recreational dispensary. We do not allow anybody in the door that does not have proper identification on them that reads true to be 21 or plus.
What does that process look like?
That process looks like age gating, and that's what it's called technically in the industry. And so at the threshold of a business where that door actually closed, like literally the threshold, we card everybody that comes in that threshold, whether they look to be 100 years old or not. Part of that being that if we were ever inspected like we do in Florida, Florida has a whole set of hemp laws in which we have regular inspections from the agriculture department come in to check labeling requirements, every procedures, processes. We are a very highly regulated company, even though it doesn't seem like it, because we follow Oregon rules. Oregon has legislature on this. Ohio is 20 years behind in that.
You said that you are on the board, or excuse me, you sit with conversations of people who are in the decision-making sphere.
Yes, most definitely.
With what you are describing, tell me, what is it that you want to see, just in layman's terms, for somebody who is sitting out here and saying, well, I don't really understand what the difference would be. What do you think would be the bridge to say, this would be what I would want to see happen in
Right,
industry?
right. Well, we all like various levels of consumables. And I'm going to compare it to the alcohol industry, even though they are the principal industry complaining in some ways about our industry. A lot of people have moved over and aren't consuming alcohol nearly as much anymore. So they've come over, and they've discovered that they can have their relaxation from a different source. The way that I like to kind of word it, the THCs and the CBD and everything in the plant that we grow versus a recreational grow are almost identical. It's nearly the same thing. The reality is, though, that because of licensure, some of their flower and or concentrates can have a slightly higher percentage THC due to their regulatory environment. We don't mind having a THC cap, because what we find as people in a functional level, because we're helping everybody manage pain and anxiety, inflammation, cancers, all that kind of stuff, is that we don't necessarily need to go to the top of the THC percentages. We find therapies and help in all the cannabinoids, not just focusing on THC percentage. So from our perspective, it's more of an apothecary approach rather than we're going top shelf liquor. That's just not us. So.
Gotcha. I think that opened up a lot too, because people have this assumption that when you say THC, cannabis, they don't think of the truly medicinal.
Not at all.
Right. They don't think of that. So when there is the conversation about regulating it or diminishing its access,
absolutely,
it's more than just recreational.
Correct. I mean, that we find that in states that are up and coming and newer to the recreational movement, meaning, there's a coming out of the hiding type situation where now people feel like it's a cannabis safe community or a cannabis safe space, and they're not going to be, ridiculed for their medicine, if you will. And so, in states that are evolving that direction, we find this pushback. It's always been the case because of confusion, undereducation. There's really a lot to be done here. This isn't a black and white situation. There are shades of gray throughout all of this. And the gray parts of the plant and what it can offer are what we haven't even explored yet. Essentially, we're dispelling the devil's lettuce, if you will, by propaganda and stuff that has hit us over the course of years. Now in Yellow Springs, we have a little bit different approach to that in some ways, a little more inclusive community, a little focused on this stuff. And the reality is that we're kind of in a hot seat, in a hotbed area for that discussion to be opened up even broader. Even if Senate Bill 56 passes and we as a business suffer financially, there's still a mission and it still goes on. We don't stop until this has actually been declassified. We don't even want it just rescheduled like they're talking about federally. We want this to be a medicinal herb you're allowed to grow in your garden.
You opened up the door, which I'm so glad that you did, and you spoke about your business suffering, the financial
Yeah,
implications. With the chamber advocating for
sure.
small businesses and trying to make sure that there's a vibrant economic structure here. Um,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Talk a little bit about the financial impact of the if this then that scenario.
Well,
What?
the interesting, yeah, I totally know where you're coming from there. The interesting thing about cannabis here in Yellow Springs right now, anyhow, is that um, we are in an evolving position, not only as a community, but also, as a nation. One of those evolutions has been, the ability, the access to be granted to cannabis in a way that it hasn't been in the past. So where Ohio is falling behind in this and trying to push some of it out as far as the access, the experiences that you're allowed to have surrounding cannabis, etc., other places have already adopted it.
Mm,
So whereas in 2015, when the green rush started uh, in Oregon, that means when people and companies were moving in to use the cannabis laws that were changing in Oregon for the positive, in our opinion, or allowing more approachable situations. The rest of the country, it takes many, many, many years to get caught up to that. The
mm,
trick with Yellow Springs is, and I think you know this, we are attracting crowds from all over the country.
mm,
We have made ourselves and are lifting ourselves up as a destination. That destination now is going to feel real out of sync if there's not a cannabis component, because people are used to that in LA, in New York, in all these other places people are coming from to shop and to be a part of the community.
mm.
So from our position, and this always happens down the line, we just may be a little bit ahead of the motion, but the decision really should come down to the county level, the local level. We want to be able to see Yellow Springs with a border that is allowing cannabis, not that it's controlled just by the state or county level. So local governments we want to have put into power into that way, and that's already what's happening on the West Coast.
Mm.
Small independent governments in small independent towns are able to control access that way. We're just behind here in Ohio.
With you having different locations and the one that you have here, there was when this conversation started last year,
Hmm.
there was something that was coming that had the ability to impact what you had on your shelf
Yes.
and things that you could sell, and a lot of
Excuse me.
businesses were in jeopardy of just losing profitability. Um,
Correct.
if there were these regulations put on your business, what would that do for your assortment? What would that mean for your business, like brass tacks?
So approximately, like I had said, 2/3 of the revenue would be lost. That would be about 2/3 of the product in the store would have to be removed, and either sent back or sent to Florida in some way, shape, or form where other stores could use them. Um, it would have a much broader impact, I would say, on town,
Mhm.
being that um, we haven't had a lot of opportunity to share with the village how many people we are drawing from other communities that are spending money within the village that then we are, of course, contributing to tax dollars for. It's massive. And so while we may not be the destination that everybody in a 10-person group coming to visit the village wants to go to, it's definitely part of the equation. What part of that equation, I'm not fully sure, but I
Yeah.
can say that some of the days where other businesses were showing and complaining about revenues, we were still doing just fine. And because of this quasi status situation that we're in here in Ohio, it just needs to be cleaned up. We need to know, and they should have let us know from 2018 forward, all of these companies that were built in Ohio it should have been part of the discussion. They should have had a hemp program before hemp was even here.
Mm,
Every other state did, and they had a position on it. Ohio did not. So
gotcha.
now we feel like we've been a little bit entrapped in that way. And if we had to fail, it would be devastating for the economy in Ohio. This is a 2.6 billion industry, Ohio being a major portion of that.
I'm glad that you broadened, opened up our eyes to that.
Yeah.
And I think this whole conversation has, because it's so easy to just think of the things that and wonder, well, I don't really see the biggest impact. I don't know what this does. I don't know how this impacts the economy. I don't know. And I think I don't know is a very honest place to be, but there are answers.
Sure. That's right. Absolutely. Go to a professional like you. There are answers, and what I really feel like here is the resounding fact when the relationship between our company and probably others in Ohio is, let's get it together before the companies are built. We have major companies, hundreds of millions of dollars invested in Ohio economies, as well as companies that have been built on the premise that this was in continuum.
Yeah.
So putting the genie back in the bottle is really, really hard. People have now gotten a taste of this, and I use this example a lot, but grandpas and grandmas are coming into the store. This is the best thing in the world. This calms me down. I'm not drinking. My doctor says I can't do that. I can have this and relax, and I feel so much better, and thank you. Oh my gosh. So it's like I don't want to say saving lives. That's extreme. But we're definitely changing people's impact on how they view cannabis on a daily basis. And the resounding fact is that they feel better. They're more well. They're less agitated from some respect with everything going on in the world, and it provides them relief from aches and pains in daily life. So the impact will be very, very great. I know that Yellow Springs and the locals here have appreciated the accessibility and professionality that we brought to the equation here. I hope that we're able to continue.
So as a last word, give us the overview of Tweedle D's.
The overview. Well, we are literally a seed to sale company. We bought the farm before we decided what we were going to do with it, for instance. My kids have been out there in the field planting this stuff on harvests. It's just on and on and on down the line. We see it integrating into our world rather than being dispelled. We just have to make sure that everybody's on the same education level here that understands what we're talking about. Yeah. Again, a lot of confusion in the industry. Come to Tweedle D's to get answers.
Come to Tweedle D's to get answers. Shane, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to chat with me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you much, Philip.
Absolutely. That's Shane Ayrsman with Tweedle D's, and just opening up the dialogue to understand that if there are questions, there are also answers, and everything that's happening from national to local, from our perspective here, also impacts the quality of life, and it also impacts the local economy. For more, go to yschamber.org. Make sure you connect with Shane Ayrsman and Tweedle D's for more information, and we will see you next time here on Chamber Insights.
To be a guest on Chamber Insights or to inquire about advertising opportunities, please email insights@yschamber.org or visit www.yschamber.org/insights.